In this episode of Dentside Depot, we're going to attempt to do something that has been done since 1965, and that is to recreate Ford's front twin I-beam suspension testing kit as seen in dealer promos. In 1965, we're going to use ping pong balls, iced tea bottles, and some wood. We're going to connect it to the front twin I-beams, and then we're going to test it using some various different tests, and we're going to see how it all turns out, so stay tuned. All right, so the way Ford's twin I-beam suspension works is you have two beams going in each direction. They have a coil spring and a kingpin on each side, and as you go over bumps, they oscillate up and down to provide the suspension travel movement. What Ford did, and as you can see in the picture below, is they added a little device that looked like a bar that came up, and then there was a cup on it, and inside the cup there were a couple balls, and then on the hood there was another cup that had a couple balls in it. And what they would do is they would have the customer drive around, and they would see the difference in how many balls fell out of cup 1 compared to cup 2. And the greater the difference on this side compared to this side would show how successful the twin I-beam suspension design was. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. Is we're going to use these scrap pieces of wood that I have. We're going to connect it to the passenger side twin I-beam. I'm going to use iced tea bottles as the cups, ping pong balls from Amazon. We're going to run it through some tests that I have scheduled for today, and we're going to see how effective or ineffective it actually is. I have no idea. Let's get to it and see if it works. Okay, so now we're underneath the vehicle, and you can see here are the I-beams, twin I-beam from suspension. And my initial plan, I can already tell, isn't going to work out. And the problem was there's not enough room, enough space for the block to be sandwiched in between the I-beams, because then there'd be no room for the suspension to articulate. So I found an old clamp of some kind, I don't know. So that's just gonna, we're gonna use this. It's gonna sit on top of the I-beam right there, as you can see. And then we're gonna have just a regular stud just come down through like so, and then the block will go on underneath. So, all right, so that's the first one on loosely. Now we'll get the second one on. Okay. Obviously Ford welded this onto the I-beam when they did it. That would be my guess. But we're not going to be doing that today. I'm not breaking out the welder for this. It'd be ridiculous. And I think this is going to work. Now that I see it. So we need to make sure we have enough clearance everywhere for the suspension to oscillate up and down. And we also want it to be to the passenger side as far as possible to make the test legitimate, so it's actually getting the full swing. But it's tightened that other block a little bit. Now it's definitely going to need some trussing to support it, so I'm going to get some triangles in there and make it a little stronger. All right, so I've now gone way overboard with this thing, trying to make it as strong as possible so the test would be as valid as possible. You can see it does have a tiny bit of flex in it. There's, you know, it's wood, so there's not much I can do about that. But the challenge is you have to connect it so it's not touching anything but the I-beam, and there's only so much room down there. So really, I mean, now I understand why Ford used metal and they welded it on there, because obviously there's really no space to bolt something on, but I really didn't want to do that today. So I think I have enough room for the suspension to fully move up and down. And I would say during the test, you could probably take off maybe 1 or 2 ping pong balls that'll fall off, just because it's going to move about an inch up and down. There's not much I can really do about that using wood. So now the challenge is, let's get the bottles attached. So we got to do one on the hood and one on the stick here. So let's get that attached. I'm probably just going to use some Phillips head screws. Nothing crazy. I think 2 should probably be enough. Yep, I think that's good for that one. All right, and there we go. So it is done. First time since 1965 someone's had one of these set up. So now we're gonna run it through some tests. I think the first one is we'll just maybe drive it down the street, see how it goes. Hopefully I got enough ground clearance, but pretty funny. The one on the hood is just held on with magnets in place. Seems pretty steady. So the idea of the test is more balls should fall out of this side than on this side, because this side is absorbing the suspension jostlation and this side should not have any because of the suspension fallout, or at least a lot less. That's the theory anyway. So let's get this thing out there and see what happens. I'm interested to see how it goes. All right, so I just backed out of the driveway, and unfortunately I already lost half my ping pong balls in the front one, and they went flying down the street. So I can already tell you there's definitely a difference between the two cups. So I took more ping pong balls out of the front one and put them into the one on the hood, because I can already tell that these ping pong balls are going to go flying like crazy. They're going to be all over the place. So now we're just going to street drive it slowly, and we're going to see if we lose any ping pong balls while just driving down the street regular. Now keep in mind, this truck's also a 4-speed, so that does make a little bit of a difference here, and I'm just going to try and go slow. But you can see, just going slow over the bumps, the difference between the two. I'm going 6 miles per hour right now, and that is the difference between the two. So look at that. I'm going to hit a sewer grate here. Oh! Ping pong balls flying just from a sewer grate. You can see the difference. That was unbelievable. There's going to be kids walking around my neighborhood thinking, where are all these colorful ping pong balls coming from? That is totally unbelievable, the difference between the two. I'm going 10 miles per hour now. I don't even have my foot on the gas. I'm just letting it idle down the street. Look at how much it bounces more in the front compared to the other side. Oh, looks like my buddy Keith's out. Let's go talk to him and see what he thinks about my invention here. Look at that. Yo, dude. Mind if I film you? What do you think of my invention that I've come up with?
Beer pong on the roll?
Beer pong on the wall?
On the roll.
On the roll? So what it is, in 1965, Ford had a commercial where they put ping pong balls in a cup on the front I-beam suspension, and then another cup on the front of the truck, and saw the difference between the two. And I can already tell you, just from driving down the street, all the ping pong balls are falling out of the I-beam suspension cup compared to the hood one. Nice. So here, hold the camera. It's on. I'm going to back out of your driveway. We're going to see the difference between the two. So I'll top it off. I'd say that's about even. So check it out. I bet even with the cup less than halfway full, when I back out of your driveway, all these ones are going to pop out.
All right. I got a rough driveway too.
Test, we're going to knock the aggression up here a little bit. I have yet to lose a ping pong ball from the hood cup. So now we're going to lawn drive it. I'm going to go a little bit faster, and we're going to see if we can get some ping pong balls to fly out of the hood, because they're going to explode out of the ones connected to the I-beam. So let's go for it here. Look at that, all the way to my backyard. And I hit my mirror on the fence. All the way to my backyard. Every single ping pong ball fell out of the cup. For the I-beam, not a single one fell out of the hood. So let's go to our last and most aggressive test. And that brings us to our final test, where we're going to run it through a gauntlet of 2x4s on the back lawn, and we're going to see if we can finally get one of these ping pong balls to fall out of the cup on the hood. We have not had a single one yet today fall out of the hood cup, proving Ford suspension twin I-beam is absolutely awesome. So let's see what this looks like. Now the only question that really remains is the Ford twin I-beam suspension really that good, or is this test more just a fake of the eye of what's actually going on here? So let's drive my F-250 Snowfighter across the 2x4 gauntlet and let's see if any ping pong balls fall off the hood. This truck does have a 4-inch rough country suspension lift kit on it, so significantly more suspension than stock, but let's see what happens. Well, as you saw, no ping pong balls fell off when driving the F-250 over it. So is the Ford twin I-beam suspension that good, or is it just a trick of the eye? I don't really know, but I can tell you one thing. The twin I-beam is definitely a comfortable front suspension. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Dentside Depot. If you did, remember to like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.